This week on Unscripted, we go over what has been changed for Survivor Series because plans have changed in the last few weeks. Plus, Stephanie McMahon talking out of her ass again, being delusional as fuck as usual, and is Braun Strowman his own worst enemy? This and more on the future #1 podcast right here on YouTube.com. This is Unscripted. What is going on, everybody? It's the France, and we're back again for episode 44 of Unscripted for your November 10th, 2018, as we get closer and closer to the end of the year, where I will have a couple special videos going up at the end of the year with the best 5 matches of the year, probably the worst 5 matches as well, because I'm pretty sure I can find at least 2 or 3 for Raw or SmackDown, and I'll think of something else too to celebrate this year in 2018 as we get to 2019 and the year turns up. But until then, we go over, as we do every single week, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and NXT UK. Well, Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live, there really wasn't much going on with storyline progression as much as it usually should be because we, of course, were in the UK, so WWE likes to take this time to just, to take this time off, but they can't take too much time off, for the simple fact is, Survivor Series is next weekend. Next weekend, you will be getting a preview and predictions for Survivor Series and NXT Takeover War Games, as well as Unscripted, and then NXT Takeover War Games and Survivor Series as well. Where this year's Survivor Series is got 4 champion versus champion matches, and I'm actually looking forward to all of them. AJ versus Brock 2. I just got done watching AJ vs. Brock 1 because it is put on the YouTube channel for WWE. They did put it on early, I believe it was earlier today. So definitely wanted to check that match out again. And I might actually go over that match again in its entirety just to, have a little bit of content for you next week. If you would like to see that, let me know in the comment section below because I could sit here and go over this match again and watch it again because it was, and in my opinion, Brock Lesnar's best match in a long time. The biggest news coming out of the Raw tapings this week was, the biggest things were Survivor Series being built up. We know majority of the team for Team Raw. And then we have, of course, the AOP, or your tag team champions. It made sense to get that they had to take the titles off of Seth Rollins. But the AOP, the AOP, I would understand. We do have news on that. We will talk about that later. But it just was weird that they decided to go with the AOP. And that was pretty much it for Monday Night Raw. There was something else also I forgot to mention, was the fact that we had Drew McIntyre take on Kurt Angle, and Kurt Angle got obliterated and tapped out to his own finisher. I believe I had the news on that. I should have the news on that for why that was possible, but we'll talk about that later. Pretty much nothing else special happened on Monday Night Raw. It was like the first time in I think a long while we did not have a trip down nostalgia lane for WWE. So definitely finally getting off of that that nostalgia trip, which we will not see till probably the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania time. Then, SmackDown Live, we had a couple things. We had Nikki Cross make her debut, which hopefully is only going to be a one-off because, they were in the UK like they did last year with Pete Dunne having a one-off match with Enzo Amore. I hope that's what it is, but I don't think that's what it is. Moving on, we also had The Survivor Series men's team get finalized with Shane McMahon joining Daniel Bryan and The Miz, as well as Samoa Joe and Rey Mysterio. So it's Rey Mysterio, Samoa Joe, Daniel Bryan, The Miz, and Shane McMahon versus so far Braun Strowman. Pretty much the Dogs of War with 2 team members left. Who those 2 team members are going to be, we will find out this coming Monday. Let's see here. NXT, as we will move on here, because there really isn't much else to talk about for Monday Night Raw. NXT. The NXT UK I watched after NXT this week, and we put it in one big review. NXT this week had the big stories coming out was the fact that we have ourselves a women's match coming up at NXT TakeOver War Games that is going to be a 2 out of 3 falls match between Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler, where I fully expect Kairi Sane to become the second ever woman to be a 2-time NXT Women's Champion, and it feels like it's going to be something like Samoa Joe, Shinsuke Nakamura, where Joe became the first man to win the title twice, and then he lost it, he dropped it back to Shinsuke Nakamura like not too long after. That's what this feels like. I think it's a little piss poor they do that, but it is what they do. And then I fully expect Shayna Baszler to be moving up from NXT as we get after Survivor Series. But the biggest thing coming out is we got the explanation. They did a nice little video clip for Johnny Gargano, as he explained that he did not want to have that triple threat match. He did not want to have Aleister Black in the way. He wanted to take on Shinsuke Nakamura on his own. Did that work out for him? No. He got beat. Handily. Well, not handily. He got beat and took his knee out as well. So everything that he went through to get Tommaso Ciampa on his own sacrificed any goodness for him. These two have been going back and forth on Twitter as well. So it's going to be a great match, I think, in NXT TakeOver War Games, as we will have Johnny Gargano versus Aleister Black, and I am looking forward to that match. Who's going to win it? That's going to be a tough one to actually dissect who would actually win. And of course, we did have the announcement that next week there will be a singles match between one member of Team Undisputed versus one member of Team War Raiders, as I'm going with. The winner of that match will give their team the advantage in the entirety of the War Games match. What that means is one of each member will start, and I believe it's going to be like 5 minutes for the first one, and every 2 minutes after that, a new superstar comes in. So after the 5 minutes, like say it's Adam Cole versus Ricochet to start off the match, which I don't think Adam Cole's going to start, but this is just an example. Adam Cole versus Ricochet. That timer goes off, and out comes Kyle O'Reilly. So Undisputed Era is 2-1, and then it'll be 3-4, 3-2, 3-2, 4-3 before they finally tie it all up after a good bit. It's great to see that we're getting a traditional War Games this year. Definitely going to be something worth seeing. I cannot wait for War Games. It's just like, why does it have to be next week? Why could it not be tomorrow? Tonight? Why? NXT UK still in its growing stages as we move on to it. NXT UK, I don't understand why they're doing this 2 hours an episode, like 2 hours, take 2 episodes a week thing. I guess they want to try and speed it up because they got to Evolution and realized, because we were supposed to have 8 matches at Evolution. We had 7 because somebody forgot, well, the NXT UK Women's Championship is not in circulation. It's not in continuity yet. Yes, there's a NXT Women's Champion already, but her title reign hasn't happened yet. Now, Johnny Sane is going to be making an announcement at next week's episode, like one of the first episode, if they continue this on, of the NXT UK, and I fully expect that to be that the NXT Women's Championship will be displayed at the beginning of the taping, at the beginning of the episode, which I hope that's what it is. You start the show off with that. Now, NXT UK has a new heel faction as well, as the Coffee Brothers have teamed up with Wolfgang to, I guess they're calling themselves Joe Coffey keeps saying it's our kingdom. Are they going to go with the Irish Kingdom? I think they're all from Ireland. They can't just call themselves the Kingdom because that's its faction in Ring of Honor. You can't just sit there and do that. That would be just stupid. We'll have to wait and see on that. NXT UK again, still in its baby stages. Oh, I don't know where that came from, but let's see. Yeah. They have a long way to go, and people are probably going to be wondering, why aren't they building towards a takeover? When are they going to build towards a takeover? It's going to be a while before you see a takeover match for these two, for this brand. For the simple fact is, that just doesn't make any sense any other way for them to have anything other than a takeover match. Not to have a takeover yet because they're just starting out. NXT itself started in 2012, the NXT that you see nowadays, and it's definitely not where it started. Definitely not where it was then. So yes, takeover for UK we should not see till maybe, just maybe next year. But that was NXT, like Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, NXT, and NXT UK. Not much else happened this week, as that it just feels like for the main roster, WWE is just waiting to get through Survivor Series. They don't want to be there. They just want to get through Survivor Series. But honestly, they just want to get this whole Roman Reigns thing to be done so we can have Roman Reigns back. But I don't see that happening anytime soon, especially with his leukemia. WWE has got to learn, and this is the thing that sucks the most, they have got to learn that just focusing on one guy like they did with Roman Reigns sacrificed everybody else. Seth Rollins was the hottest babyface in the summertime. He should have been the guy that if leukemia, I'm not saying it should ever happen, but if this leukemia thing with Roman Reigns would have happened before SummerSlam, they would have been in the prime position to put Seth Rollins right in there. For the simple fact is that was when he was at his hottest. That's when he was at his most overness. And then what did they do? They went out and we got to SummerSlam, and then the next night we had the Shield reform. The Intercontinental title went from where it was, and it just drops to irrelevancy again. He is still the Intercontinental Champion, and half the time you couldn't even remember who the Intercontinental Champion was. Now that the Universal Championship is on Brock Lesnar, and we have a little bit on that later too, maybe we could have the Intercontinental title back where it was before we had somebody known as Roman Reigns win the Intercontinental Championship. Now, moving on to the news here. Speaking of Monday Night Raw, this past Monday was the last time, most likely, that you will see the Raw overrun. You know, since the Attitude Era, Monday Night Raw has ended a little after 11 o'clock. Usually about 8 to 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, but they have gone to almost 30 minutes themselves, which when they were at 2 hours was fine, but now that they're at 3 hours, that's 3 hours and 3 hours and 20 minutes. That is just too much. What we got here is watching 3 hours of Raw in 15 minutes every week has felt a little short, like a chore, but a report from Fightful has what comes bearing news. At least you won't have to wait until 11:04 for the main event promo segment to start anymore. That is the biggest problem. Unless it's like a championship match or a high-profile match, the main event segment usually doesn't start till 11:05. They'll go, we'll be back on Monday Night Raw, and it's 11 o'clock. Commercial happens, it's like 11:03. They come back with maybe what's going to happen next week, or they'll show something else. It's like 11:04, 11:05. Then the promo segment starts. According to Sean Ross Sapp, the random 15-minute overrun that Raw has had since the heyday of the Monday Night Wars, when it was there to fuel excitement and keep viewers interested in Raw instead of Nitro, is no more. Finally, we can get straight to an all-new episode of Christie's Knows Best. Ha ha ha, funny. Fightful.com has learned that WWE Monday Night Raw has a hard out time at 11 p.m. Eastern Time as opposed to the soft end time that they've enjoyed since the 1990s. We're told this will begin with next Monday's edition of Raw and will continue for the foreseeable future. This is already the case for SmackDown Live on Tuesday nights. SmackDown on Tuesday nights has never had, on any of its other nights, a hard out. Now, WWE Raw would have had to suffer this hard out if they would have went to Fox next year. It's kind of weird that they're doing this, but maybe it's because like everyone just gives up on the third hour, minus those content creators. Everybody gives up on that third hour. Nobody like unless you're a content creator, you're not watching that third hour. So this was just probably one of the best thing for them to do. It mentions that the death of the overrun was likely a USA Network call, so if anyone can find the name of the USA Network exec who made the call, we'd like to send them an edible arrangement. It's been almost 2 decades now of don't tune into Nitro content lingering at the end of shows with no Nitro tuned to, so maybe the loss of buffer time will force Raw to tighten up. This is great news. Now all we need to do is cut out that third hour, and then Monday Night Raw will actually maybe be a little bit more enjoyable. But it does, for the last, since they went to 3 hours, and especially since it's brand split for sure, having the show go to that overrun is just like, is this show over yet? Is this show over yet? Is it still going on? Why? This is great. So, in mine and anyone else who does Mine and anybody who else does a review of Monday Night Raw right after the show goes off the air will actually have the show up 15 minutes, 20 minutes earlier, and it'll be great for everybody. If you watch Raw and you just go right back to sleep and you go to bed after that, if you're not already sleeping, you can watch Raw, turn it off at 11 o'clock and be in bed. This is great, and I hope it stays like this for the remainder of the time on USA Network. Moving on here to Survivor Series plans changing. A couple weeks ago, Roman Reigns announced to the fans on Raw that he would be vacating the Universal Championship to go battle leukemia for the second time in the immediate aftermath. Changes were made to Crown Jewel WWE Universal Championship match. The match would go on from being a triple threat to a singles bout featuring Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar, competing for the then vacant Universal Championship, and we see how that went. Reigns vacating the Universal Championship also led to WWE making some drastic changes to the Survivor Series plans. According to popular insider Twitter account WrestleVotes, apparently the original plans were to never do a Raw vs. SmackDown live theme for the pay-per-view, which is what this year's show has become. Vince McMahon is said to have been against a Reigns vs. AJ Styles champion vs. champion match, so the inter-brand approach was out the window. The change in direction for Survivor Series appeared to have been a quick one. In the midst of the changes, the rumored Team Kurt Angle vs. Team Baron Corbin match has been put on ice and is not going to happen. A women's Raw vs. SmackDown match was announced for this past Tuesday night by Paige and Charlotte. Well, that was last week before. Charlotte Flair turned down the opportunity to captain the Blue Brand, and as you saw on this past Tuesday, she was introduced as part of the match for the women on SmackDown, but she did not show up. Another big bout for Survivor Series rumored was Shawn Michaels facing The Undertaker. According to WrestleVotes, Michaels was willing to work another match or two after Crown Jewel if things went well in the tag team match. Triple H tearing his pec, and due to his injury, a bout between Michaels and The Undertaker may be in jeopardy, as well as since everything didn't necessarily go well. I mean, Shawn Michaels doing a moonsault and pretty much landing on his head because Kane and The Undertaker refused to catch him. Yeah, it didn't go well. Following Crown Jewel, Michaels commented on WWE cameras in a backstage video that he was looking forward to getting back to his regular life and did not plan to wrestle again. Great. So basically what you're saying is Vince McMahon was going to take away the easiest build that they could have for a pay-per-view, Raw versus SmackDown. Especially with only 3 weeks of build after Crown Jewels, Fool's Gold, whatever the fuck you want to call the damn shit. Oh my goodness. Gosh, I just don't even want to know what you could say about this. The fact that if Roman Reigns doesn't have this leukemia thing pop up, we're getting Baron Corbin versus Team Angle versus Team Corbin, with the winner getting full control of Monday Night Raw, which will probably happen eventually. The headache I'm going to ever have. They do it for Roman. Everything is for Roman. Why would they not want to have that match between Styles and Roman? Because Roman, already getting booed half the time anyway, would be eviscerated at Survivor Series. So Vince McMahon just wants to, it's like Vince McMahon treats Roman Reigns like a newborn baby. Anytime he bumps his knee, he has to coddle him and be like, shh, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. The crowd booing you is not that bad, come on, shh, you'll be okay. That's all it feels like they ever do for Roman Reigns when he was around, is they would just sit there and just hold his hands and treat him like a fucking 2-year-old. WWE didn't want to sacrifice the chance that Roman Reigns would get booed heavily, and we all know he would be booed heavily. So they said, you know what? We're just going to do this and try and find 3 weeks of build for Survivor Series when there was nothing there. Raw vs. SmackDown was the way to go. Period. Speaking of Crown Jewel, the original plans for the Universal Championship, of course, was the triple threat match between Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman, and Roman Reigns. Brock Lesnar defeated Braun Strowman to regain the Universal Championship, which is still bullshit. Lesnar's appearance at Hell in a Cell pay-per-view surprised a lot of people when he interfered during the Hell in a Cell match between Strowman and Reigns, as he was expected to get into training camp for his highly anticipated fight with Daniel Cormier. His interference led to WWE originally booking a triple threat match between Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, and Lesnar for the Universal title at Crown Jewel. However, with Reigns revealing his battle with leukemia and subsequently relinquishing the Universal Championship, WWE announced a singles match between Strowman and Lesnar to crown a new champion. During the most recent edition of the week before's Wrestling's of a newsletter, Dave Meltzer revealed more information regarding the original plans of Crown Jewel. Meltzer noted that the original plan was to have Lesnar finish up his contractual obligations at Crown Jewel and have Reigns retain the title. However, with Roman's recent revelation, WWE changed their plans and booked Brock to win back the championship. As we reported, earlier Lesnar signed a new contract, which will see him compete at least 2 more matches, one being AJ Styles versus AJ Styles, which is the rematch of what they did last year. We will talk about that next week on the preview and predictions, in my thoughts of why AJ Styles must win that match. Meltzer further noted that Lesnar signed a new contract sometime last week and that it wasn't an exclusive deal. Brock's new deal with WWE allows him to go back to the UFC whenever he wants. Plain and simple, WWE saying, oh well, and we'll talk about later why Braun Strowman probably was not, why they went to Brock Lesnar, which I can tell you right now. Roman Reigns goes out, he's the only guy they've been pushing for the last 4 years, and he goes out with injury, or with illness, so WWE says, fuck Braun Strowman, fuck Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and anybody else on the main roster. We can't trust you with the Universal Championship. We can only trust Brock Lesnar. That is all you're getting, that's all I'm getting from this, is that that WWE has no faith in a Seth Rollins, a Dean Ambrose, a Drew McIntyre, even though we have news on WWE's plans for Drew later. Dean Ambrose, Drew McIntyre, Dolph Ziggler, anybody on the main roster. Your name isn't Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar. WWE has no faith in you. If it wasn't for the leukemia battle, Roman Reigns was going to hold that title till at least SummerSlam next year, if not further. But hey, things happen. So, yes, we have the Reign of Terror of Brock Lesnar is going to last until WrestleMania. It's a 2-match contract. Survivor Series, WrestleMania, that's that. But I'm not a fool. I don't buy that this is going to be all. Vince McMahon is going to walk into, have Brock Lesnar come into his office right on the way to WrestleMania, and he's going to talk him into signing another contract. Vince McMahon just wants to use Brock Lesnar as much as he can to get as much money out of him as he possibly can, and it hurts the company. It hurts WWE. Vince McMahon is just a fool who needs to realize that Brock Lesnar's the aura of Brock Lesnar is dead. Why Vince McMahon thinks that Brock Lesnar has to be used to get somebody over makes no sense. You already went 507 days as Universal Champion, not losing, beating everybody but Roman Reigns with an F5 one time. It's just enough. Absolutely enough. Brock Lesnar is not as I've stated, and I'll state it again if I do that review, Brock Lesnar's best match in the last 4 years was AJ Styles last year. Anything else he did in 2017 was trash. Anything he did in 2016 was trash. 2015 trash. 2014 trash. Brock Lesnar has not had a good match in WWE outside of AJ Styles in a hell of a long time. What makes you think having Brock Lesnar hold the Universal Championship is going to help that title one bit? For 500 and some plus days, that title meant absolutely nothing. And again, it's off Monday Night Raw, and it's again gonna mean absolutely nothing. So Vince McMahon wants his monies. Brock Lesnar is not the guy that you should have this title on, but hey, whatever. We'll see what happens when we get to WrestleMania. People are calling for Braun Strowman to win. I don't see that happening. Let me see. I should have it. Speaking of this deal of Brock Lesnar's, we do have some more on it, I guess. Dave Meltzer, Wrestling Observer newsletter, has given further information regarding Brock Lesnar's new deal. In writing an article from MMA Fighting, Meltzer stated that Lesnar and WWE made a deal in secret after it was revealed that Roman Reigns is battling leukemia again after 11 years of being in remission. Meltzer also reports that Brock's deal would not limit his ability to fight in the UFC and is for multiple shows, hence his regaining the Universal Championship. But with Reigns out, Lesnar got a new offer from McMahon to replace Reigns as its top single champion. How can you be considered a top champion if you're never fucking there? If you were never there, you are an irrelevant piece of shit that nobody cares about. When Brock Lesnar returns, nobody cares. The reactions are getting diminished after diminished after diminished. Every time he comes back, the reactions are boos or diminished. He is not a top guy anymore. He will never be a top guy in the eyes of the fans ever again. This guy has got to go. The deal does allow him to take a UFC fight, but whether Lesnar really will do during his contractual terms with WWE is a bigger question. And for Cormier, with the sands of time of the hourglass on his career rapidly running out, and him continuing to say he's done in March after his 40th birthday, the Lesnar fight is far less of a sure thing than it seems a month ago. Yeah. Saying that putting Lesnar with the Universal Championship again is another mistake. That title, if anyone's ever watched Buck Culture back in 2016, 17, like 15, 16, 17, when it was the Adams versus Adams stuff, it was Adam Pacitti and Adam Blampied doing their thing back and forth. They had a cardboard belt. That title that those guys fought over during predictions had more relevance to it than the Universal Championship has ever had. It's pathetic how WWE just continues to think that their championship means anything. Since it was a bad sign for the Universal Championship when you introduce it, and the guy who wins your first championship match injures himself in said match. This title is nothing but a cancer. This title is nothing but irrelevancy, and this title is just going to fall deeper and deeper down the shithole, and will never, ever capture relevancy again. Speaking of about Raw stars, WWE has big plans for a Raw star. WWE officials still have major plans for Drew McIntyre in 2019, of course, according to WrestleVote's Twitter account, which has revealed several scoops in the past year or so. The big push for Drew is reportedly beginning now as he feuds with Braun Strowman. WWE officials have been high on McIntyre for months, which can only mean great things for Drew McIntyre. Just look at Drew McIntyre, this Drew McIntyre compared to the Drew McIntyre who was the Chosen One / 3MB Drew McIntyre. He, back then, just felt like somebody who wasn't there yet. He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready for the spotlight WWE tried to shine on him. This guy, this Drew McIntyre, when I watched him in What Culture Pro Wrestling as Drew Galloway, his real name, seeing this guy go out there and put on great match after great match after great match and just show that he is a more polished athlete. His time in NXT was amazing. This guy just oozes what he should be champion. He should be champion going into WrestleMania, winning that championship, and beating Brock Lesnar. This was like 2018 for him, just like anyone else who came up from NXT, is the feel out process. What will WWE do with them for the next year? It's just kind of dumb how everyone's like, oh, well, this person just came up from NXT and they're getting buried because they're not seen all the time. It's like, you gotta push the guys and gals who are there already. The guys and gals who are coming from NXT, if they go out there and put on great shows, when we get to, the next year, when WWE resets everything, they should be in line for a bigger slice of the pie when it comes to relevancy on the main roster. It's just everyone expects, and I've just learned this over time just watching. Everyone expects a Sanity to come up immediately and be pushed to the moon and be tag team champions within 2 months. Andrade Cien Almas brought up, and anybody who says Andrade Cien Almas is a 5-star matchmaking machine, shut your fucking mouth. He had one 5-star match in NXT, and that was with Johnny Gargano. Anybody who ever says, oh, he's a 5-star matchmaking machine, how fucking stupid do you sound? Yes, I'm not saying Andrade Cien Almas is a bad wrestler. He had one 5-star match, and it was with Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano is the 5-star matchmaking machine, not Andrade Cien Almas. Doesn't mean he can't have 5-star matches. He's had great matches with AJ Styles. Great match this past this past week with Rey Mysterio. Great match with Daniel Bryan. Him putting on great matches and going out there when he is used and giving us great matches and be like, I want to see this guy some more. I want to see great matches against this guy. Could be somebody. One can show Vince McMahon that, hey, we don't need Alberto El Patron, Alberto El Retard to come back because he wants to come back. We already have our Mexican, our Hispanic influence in Rey Mysterio and Andrade Cien Almas. We don't need that guy. And two, Vince McMahon will go, well, when Superstar A starts falling down, Andrade Cien Almas, who's at Superstar B, can come up and take his spot. People just gotta chill. Yeah, it doesn't help when the crowd don't see you very often, but it does. It's just how WWE works. Yeah, we want to see everyone in NXT succeed. Not everyone's going to succeed. As long as someone like an Almas or a Sanity or Nikki Cross, who's, I don't know if she's going to be with Sanity or what, as long as they don't get, have the Oscar treatment. Well, Oscar was buried when she went up against Carmella. She went up against Carmella in 2 matches that she should have won the championship. What did they do? They had James Ellsworth dress up as Oscar, and Oscar just go from trying to kill Carmella to just what the hell is going on? And then get kicked in the face 1, 2, 3. Or having her face shoved into a shark cage 1, 2, 3. That's a burial. That's burying great talent. Having somebody go out there and put on great matches and looking strong in defeat is not a burial. Nikki Cross went up against Becky Lynch this week. Was not buried. She might get buried if they have her going out there being not who she is. Nikki Cross's character, in my opinion, is not a character that you would expect to see women's champion, and if she is, it's not going to be very long. She's more of a, how do I want to put this? A good cog in the machine for NXT or the main roster. Because she can go out there, put on great matches, and make others look strong if she loses. Just because they lose doesn't mean they are buried. Not everybody is going to win. No, you weren't going to have Becky Lynch lose that match. Unless it was going to be by DQ or countout. You're not going to, Nikki Cross losing was not a bad thing. She came out, she showed us what she can do, she was given ample opportunity to show what she can do, but that people are like, oh, she lost, so she's buried. So basically what you're telling me is that if somebody loses a match, they're buried. Come on. Give me a break. Yes, like champions should not be losing, and this is one thing that always irked me when a champion wins the championship, and then the next thing you know they're losing every single non-title match, but they go out and win title matches. That is something I don't want to see again. Every time Wade Barrett, when he was in WWE a couple years ago, every time he won the Intercontinental title, he would lose every single singles match that was not for the title. When the title was on the line, he would kick the person he's wrestling's ass. It just ruined that entire thing. Getting back on track here, though, McIntyre should be Universal Champion coming out of WrestleMania. Plain and simple. And there is talk that maybe, just maybe, and this would be great, we have Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship at at WrestleMania, which, in my opinion, would be the best match they could go for. Why? Brock Lesnar's matches and triple and multi-man matches are better than his singles matches. Give me Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins. You can start the build at the Royal Rumble. Maybe Drew McIntyre gets eliminated by Seth Rollins, comes back in and beats him down, and helps him get Seth Rollins eliminated. Then we move on to the Elimination Chamber. Both men are in the Elimination Chamber. Seth Rollins again eliminates Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre then hits him with the Claymore kick, picks him up, hits him with another Claymore kick, and Seth Rollins is eliminated. Oh no, wait. Let me say this again. Seth Rollins or Drew McIntyre. Okay. Seth Rollins would win the Elimination Chamber by beating Drew McIntyre, but Drew McIntyre, it was a fluky win, a roll-up or something. And then Drew McIntyre hits him with the Claymore kick 2 or 3 times and says, "This isn't over," to him as the show goes off the air. Well, it won't be the final match of the show. I'm sure they'll have something with the WWE Championship. They have to. The only positive note of this thing is that AJ Styles there's no Roman Reigns, and there's no Brock Lesnar after Survivor Series until we get to WrestleMania. If AJ Styles is still the WWE Champion going into the Royal Rumble, TLC and Royal Rumble, outside of the Royal Rumble match, AJ Styles should have at least one main event match with the WWE Championship, bar none. Moving on here to Mr. Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman, of course, the monster among men, went into Crown Jewel and got squashed like a bug. I don't give a shit what WWE was trying to do by having Baron Corbin hit him in the back of the head with the title belt to let Braun Strowman beat him down, and then B, have Braun Strowman beat him down. I don't give a fuck what the reasoning was. He got squashed like a fucking bug. He got squashed like a fucking bug, and he is irrelevant to most people. But it might be a reason for that. WWE, Braun Strowman could be in hot water with some WWE management due to some alleged backstage etiquette problems. Let's see what we have here. One of the things that I heard from multiple sources as we come from, who was this? Oh wait. During a clip of his audio show subscription, Mike Johnson, a PW insider, provided an insight into why Strowman possibly lost in such a dominant fashion at WWE Crown Jewel against Brock Lesnar. Reportedly, Strowman has been seen as his own worst enemy, and that the company has problems with trusting a push in his hands. One of the things that Johnson has heard from multiple people with talking for different people, there are times where Strowman is negligent when it comes to showing up on time, which I'm going to stop it right there. First and foremost, I don't care if you love your job. I don't care if you hate your job. If you want to get that promotion, if you want to be, in this case, the champ in WWE, I mean, UFC, yeah, you go out there and you fight and you earn championships, but this is WWE. If you want to get to that top spot, if you want to be that top guy, why in the blue fucking hell would you not show up on time? And what does that show you? What does that show you for those below you. What does that show those below you? Oh, Braun Strowman can do it, I can do it. Yeah, I don't blame WWE at all if they want to give this guy a push, but he's not showing like proper etiquette, or he's not showing up on time, if he's leaving late or leaving early. Don't, like, that's going to hurt his chances of doing anything. But I have a question for that in a second. Let me see here. They will be high on him, and just when he gets to a point where you think the next step is putting him into the centerpiece for the company, then something happens and he makes sort of missteps backstage. Yes. My only problem with this is, the only problem I have with this is, if he's having this problem, if he is having this backstage etiquette problem, if he is his own worst enemy, I don't care what you think of him until he actually gives you the reason to know, oh, he's going to do something. He's actually showing us that he wants to be the WWE Universal Champion. He wants to prove and be that guy for us. Why are you booking him in championship matches? Why did you give him Money in the Bank? Why wouldn't, if he was having these problems, if he's having these problems, why not take the Money in the Bank briefcase off for him? Why not have him try and cash in on Brock Lesnar like when they did at SummerSlam, and then have Brock Lesnar squash him? Why have him up so high on the card? I don't care what he looks like. Just having him go out there and trying to push him, it's time to push him down the card. I don't blame WWE if this is true. If he's out there pretty much setting bad examples for the lower card. But the biggest thing about this is, one of the detriments to Braun Strowman was he was barely in NXT. He didn't wrestle in NXT. He was barely at the Performance Center. Vince McMahon took one look at him and was like, oh, get him on Monday Night Raw. Put him with the Wyatt family. Put him with the Wyatt family. He'll do great things. And we had him for about a good minute or two as Wyatt family Braun Strowman, with, you know, the long hair on all sides. He had the big bushy beard. He was terrible in the ring, having main event matches, which he did not need to be in. You're wondering, why the hell was he going up against Dean Ambrose or someone in terrible main event matches? And then the brand split happened. Oh, sorry. Then the brand split happened. And we got Braun Strowman that we see today, the guy who goes out there, destroys somebody, made a career in WWE for James Ellsworth, unfortunately. He went out there, he destroyed things, he threw Roman Reigns off a loading dock. He got over naturally. But in lies the problem is the fact that he never got that proper etiquette training in NXT. And the biggest thing you got to look at when it comes to Braun Strowman and what goes on in his head is, it all starts at the top. Braun Strowman looks at what Vince McMahon does, looks at the crew on the main roster, and sees that they don't care. Vince McMahon hasn't cared about the WWE in a long time. He surrounds himself with people who do not like professional wrestling. So why would a guy like Braun Strowman, who sees that the boss himself does not give a fuck about what goes on as long as he's making his money, why would he? Why would Braun Strowman want to do that? Why would Braun Strowman want to care? I mean, look at everyone in NXT, how much high praise they have from NXT. How high praise each superstar when they talk about, like, those who are in NXT now, when they get to, like, a Sam Roberts or any, like, JRs or whatever, and they talk about NXT and how proud they were to be there or are there, how much fun it is there. And you have, like, a Sasha Banks going on Sam Roberts and throwing shade at Monday Night Raw. The fact that she's a 4-time women's champion and barely has held the title for a month, if that. It's just, why? It's like, I don't blame the superstars for not caring. Why should they care if the chairman himself and those who write these shows do not care. But if you want to be Universal Champion in Braun Strowman's case, you've got to not do stupid shit that's going to get you in hot water. It's just like, you know better. If you want to be the guy while their guy is out for at least a year, which, yes, there's people going out there talking about, oh, well, this is fake. They're using this to get Roman Reigns away from television. Instead of, sending the guy on vacation for about 2 months, which would have been nice. Why would he have leukemia? He doesn't have any leukemia. They're just gonna say this right now. If we see Roman Reigns return to WWE between now and WrestleMania and get a Universal Championship match in the WrestleMania, everything that we've seen right now is fake. Everything they talked about right now is fake. But when you have family members coming out, which I could see WWE trying to tell them to, play up this thing too. I just don't see WWE being that stupid. If it would come out that Roman Reigns' leukemia is fake, WWE would stock, which had been dropping rapidly from saying that the fact that they're still going to Crown Jewel, it dropped from 98, 96. It was almost $100 a share, all the way down below 70, and then a little back up, and it's dropping again. If this thing comes out that this is fake, which I don't think it is, but if this comes out and is fake, Vince McMahon is going to lose everything. The investors will not be happy. Sponsors will not be happy. Anybody who thinks that Vince McMahon is going to risk sponsorship or getting Roman Reigns over, you have got to be some delusional fuck. There is absolutely no way that this leukemia thing is fake. But Vince McMahon and them have also got to realize that they screwed up with this, having only worked on one guy for so long, so damn long, and then when he goes out, I guarantee you when it comes to this entire thing, Vince McMahon never thought the day would come that, at least in his lifetime, that he would be without a Roman Reigns. I guarantee you. You go back a week or two before they found out that, not us, but they found out, those being Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, Kevin Dunn probably, and Vince McMahon, that Roman Reigns had leukemia again and he has to go out. I guarantee you Vince McMahon never thought a week or two before that he would be in his, for the next 10 years plus, that he'd be without Roman Reigns. And unfortunately, that's what's happening. But Braun Strowman has got to get his act together, because there is absolutely no reason for you to be to have that happening in your career. There's also talked about the fact that he's working on 2 blown knees. 2 blown knees. Which is not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. If he has to eventually, and you could tell on Monday Night Raw when Baron Corbin was running away and getting in that limo, that Braun Strowman really just couldn't get they couldn't get the power in his legs to run. So you don't have to have a report or anything. I didn't get the report down, but it's been out there that Dave Meltzer is saying that he's working on 2 blown knees. If he has to take time off, that's just going to make Monday Night Raw even worse. But Vince McMahon, again, has to deal with the consequences of pushing one guy completely. I mean, when Hogan was on top, you had Macho Man to fall back on. When Shawn Michaels and Diesel and Bret Hart were in that circle, you had all 3 of those guys, if WWE had to fall back on one of those guys. In the Attitude Era, you had Stone Cold and The Rock and Triple H and The Undertaker, Mick Foley. Yeah, that's 5 guys right there. John Cena, had Batista for a minute. If they had when John Cena was out, they had Randy Orton, they had Let me think here. Yeah, they had Batista, Randy Orton. Triple H was still around, not as much as he was now, like wasn't a couple years beforehand, but he was still there. So, who does WWE have completely to fall back on right now? Nobody. Nobody. They had Seth Rollins, and then they screwed that up. Dean Ambrose turned heel because he was going to at the Survivor Series. It was going to be Team Kurt versus Team Corbin, and the Shield was going to be on that team. Was going to be on Team Kurt. I already know it would have been. But now that that's out the window, WWE is in a rough area right now. They don't know what to do with most of Monday Night Raw, and they're just like Monday Night Raw is floundering right now, and it's not going to get any better. It's just not. Yes, the 15-minute overrun being gone is a blessing because it does tighten them up. So instead of going to commercial break at 10:50, like at 11 o'clock, before we get to our next, the final segment, which is sometimes a promo, WWE is going to have to work themselves back to what they should have been for a long time. Moving away from Monday Night Raw for a minute, we do have a top New Japan star turning down WWE immediately. Earlier this year, WWE reached out to Tetsuya Naito sometime after New Japan Dominion in June, but Naito turned the offer down immediately. According to Tokyo Sports, at Dominion, Chris Jericho defeated Naito for the IWGP Heavy Intercontinental Championship. As translated by New Japan announcer Chris Carlton, Naito didn't have to think long about the prospect of going to WWE. Naito said, "I didn't even give it a thought, Naito. This New Japan ring is already the world's #1 stage. The fans know this. That's why I think we should focus on our home crowd before looking elsewhere." Naito, a one-time New Japan IWGP Heavyweight Champion, is arguably the most popular wrestler in Japan as the leader of Los Ingobernables de Japón. I just messed that name up. Los Ingobernables de Japón. Naito has also won MVP 2 years in a row in the Tokyo Awards, being the fifth to achieve this, along with Antonio Inoki, Jumbo Tsuruta, Ginshiro Tenuya, and Kazuchika Okada. At Wrestle Kingdom 13 on January 4th, Naito will face Chris Jericho for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. I expect him to win it back, and has made it clear that he is not interested in Jericho for his time in WWE. It's about what Jericho has done in New Japan with multiple sneak attacks on members of LIJ. He said, "You should understand that I have no interest in WWE superstar Chris Jericho, Naito. What I want to do is get revenge for what happened in a New Japan ring." I do not blame Naito one bit. I mean, look at WWE, what they have done to superstars who come from New Japan, have come from other places. Finn Balor, one of the biggest stars coming from New Japan. He comes in NXT, wins the NXT Championship, holds it for almost a year, I believe. Let me think here. AJ Styles had a rocky start to start out with, but he's kind of done fine. Shinsuke Nakamura, big debut in NXT, had a great run in NXT, won the NXT Championship twice, comes up to the main roster, and they just didn't know what to do with him. And we all knew that was going to happen. Look at all the superstars in NXT. Why do you think people are don't want the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, the Elite to come to NXT or come to WWE? Because we all know what they do in New Japan. Being the Elite would be gone. All the merchandise on Pro Wrestling Tees would be discontinued. There's no reason to have it doesn't. I don't blame Naito at all. He should stay where he is. He can do whatever he wants to do there. And WWE, who have all the talent in the world, they don't need a Tetsuya Naito. They don't need a Kenny Omega or a Cody Rhodes. They don't need any of those. They already have the talent that they have. There is no reason to go after any other talent. But what do I know? WWE should just worry about the talent they have now. And if you want to get more talent, here's an idea. Let some of the talent that you aren't using go. Let the talent like No Way Jose, who you're not going to use, go. There used to be every year we would get a spring cleansing or spring cleaning after not WrestleMania, but think of it like Backlash or the pay-per-view after that. They would always have a spring cleaning, but we haven't seen one in the 2 years that we've had the brand split. Why? Because WWE doesn't want somebody that they're under their wing be released and then go somewhere else and make a name for themselves and be like, hey, WWE, fuck you. I'm doing wonders while you're sitting there realizing what you lost. That's why you don't see like anything for that. And it's just a damn shame that WWE continues on that. There's a lot of talent in WWE, and they're like, well, we're just gonna keep everybody because fuck the rest of the world. I just wish more talent would do what Cody Rhodes and Neville did, or Pac, and walk out. Walk out and go do something else. Speaking of Pac, before we get into any more news, Defiant Wrestling has announced in the January tapings that he will be part of the loaded tapings in January. So if anybody wants to watch Pac, aka Neville, wrestle on pretty much free TV, make sure to check out Defiant Wrestling in January. Let's see what we have here. Moving back over. WWE has a new gimmick for Apollo Crews. On this week's episode of Raw, Apollo Crews faced Jinder Mahal in a singles match. Crews defeated Mahal with a standing moonsault, which surprised a lot of people. But the win saw Apollo get back in the winning ways after losing to Dolph Ziggler the week before. Apollo Crews has been working single matches for the past few weeks, and the superstar is reportedly done with Titus Worldwide. He made that abundantly clear on Monday. During the most recent edition in Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer talked about Apollo's match with Mahal. While the match itself did not garner a great response from the live crowd in Manchester, the Manchester crowd didn't care about really anything. Meltzer noted that this was WWE's plan for the new superstar. New plans for the superstar. Meltzer revealed that WWE wants to build Crews as the Raw's highlight reel. Apollo is one of the most athletic performers on the WWE roster, and WWE reportedly wants to showcase that he performs impressive moves. Okay, so what can he do that Seth Rollins can't do? What can he do that the Cruiserweights can't do? What can he do that Andrade Cien Almas can't do, or Rey Mysterio can't do, or Samoa Joe can't do? What can he do that we can't see from somebody else on any roster? This highlight reel gimmick made it work if he was the only one doing things. But when you see Seth Rollins doing 3 or 4 suicide dives, or the Cruiserweights doing a tope con hilo every so often, what's the point of having someone being classified as the Raw's highlight reel when you're seeing Seth Rollins tear the house down every single night he wrestles? Having Kevin Owens when he wrestles show you that a big man can fly. There's nothing that this guy can do that is going to get me to care about Apollo Crews. But if they want to give him a shot, they want to give him a shot. He should have been in NXT. He should have never been brought up from NXT when he was. That was just a detriment to Apollo Crews. He came up from NXT, and I've said this before, way too early. Way too early. This guy needed at least another year in NXT. Like, they want to bring the Velveteen Dream up, and quite honestly, they should have brought the Velveteen Dream up. Not the Velveteen Dream up. They should have had this guy have that little bit more seasoning on him because he needs it. He's just not where he should have been had they kept him in NXT. But now, what did they do? They put him on the main roster way too early. Just like Nia Jax. Should have never been brought up in the draft. She should have been in NXT for at least another year. 6 months to a year at least. But WWE brought her up, and she's just a total diva. That's all she is. She's nothing. She's irrelevant. She's just not what WWE should have a wrestler. She just isn't anything. Just WWE, I think it's too little too late for Apollo Crews, and that's WWE's fault. This guy would have been, in about a year, if he would have been in NXT for at least another year, he didn't even really get to establish a character. They just brought the guy up because he was athletic and he was built well. I don't know why WWE decided, oh, we're just gonna bring this guy up. It is what he is. No. I just don't know. Speaking of the women, Ember Moon, why is she not receiving the push she should be getting? WWE's evolution including a women's battle royal match, and it also came down to Ember Moon winning the match to get a title shot down the line. Of course, Nia Jax ended up winning the match, so we expect to see some kind of title shot for her after Survivor Series. But those fans who were upset about WWE teasing Moon's win at Evolution must be patient. Oh, they missed the boat, in my opinion. Dave Scherer pointed out during PW Insider Elite Audio that WWE plans for Ember Moon right now very well be to push her eventually, but that's the key word, eventually. But now obviously isn't the right time, and that could actually play to her advantage later on. He says the one thing fans aren't considering here is, okay, you want to see her get a push? That's great. She's not going to get a push at the expense of Ronda Rousey, of course. It's not going to happen, nor should it happen. So if you get what you want, she is in the position as number one contender. It's not going to be a positive position. She's going to be in there to be contender of the month that jobs out to Ronda. And you don't even want that kind of, like when that dope, which this is his words, not mine, Enzo Amore got hurt. He hit his face on the ropes, like snapped his neck. They were going to lose that match, so you're actually better off to get hurt and not get the stink of being a loser on you. He's better off now because she can say at the first Battle Royal, at the first women's only pay-per-view, who eliminated more people than her, no one. She didn't win, but she eliminated more people than anyone, and they can go back on that later. Yeah, continuity on the main roster is moot. They don't have continuity with anything. At this point, with her as a babyface, so she doesn't want to be fed to Ronda Rousey because Ronda's not losing her title anytime soon because she's going to lose it to Charlotte at WrestleMania. Therefore, it might not be that bad of a situation for Ember to get a huge babyface pop and lose the match to get heat on Jax because there just isn't room for her at the top right now in the first place. Not true. AJ Styles vs. Brock Lesnar last year was Brock Lesnar's best match and was the most he ever sold for a superstar probably since he lost to Goldberg the year prior. Seriously, this is the best they could do. Now, you don't have to win everything. Yeah, you could put her as number one contender, and yeah, she could be contender of the month. But have her go out there. If Ronda Rousey can sell, go and sell for like the Bella Twins or Nikki, like the Bella Twins or Alexa Bliss, she can have a great match with Ember Moon. Ember Moon versus Ronda Rousey's best friend, or one of her best friends, Shayna Baszler, was a damn good match at TakeOver Philadelphia. Well, not Philadelphia. TakeOver New Orleans. It was a damn good match. Why couldn't we see Ember Moon versus Ronda Rousey? What is WWE afraid of for Ember Moon versus Ronda Rousey? It just defeats the purpose. It really does that they would even say that. I mean, come on. There is nothing wrong with having a babyface Ember Moon take on a babyface Ronda Rousey. I mean, I wouldn't do it every time, but come on, Vince. That is just an asinine and pathetic way to go with this. Ronda Rousey versus Ember Moon, I think, would be a hell of a match and would help and would make a star. It would. You don't have to win every match, but you could have Ronda Rousey versus Ember Moon and Ember fight to her last breath only to get tapped out. They do it out of spots of respect. You're not going to have Ronda Rousey go out there and be like, oh, well, you said this about me, you said that about me. It's not going to happen. Just, Vince McMahon is so, I don't even know. Vince McMahon just doesn't help. But hopefully, Ember Moon, the biggest thing about Ember Moon is, if they don't want to push her right now, you can keep her strong for now. Superstar Shakeup comes up, send her to SmackDown, somehow, someway, get the title on to Asuka, and then for the entire summer of next year, for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship, you could have Asuka versus Ember Moon at least twice, and especially if they go to Saudi Arabia, you can have one right after WrestleMania, and then after they go to Saudi Arabia, if it's after, you go to the next one. But I think that would be great. You would go and you would do that. I think it would be great for them. But we'll have to wait and see, and hopefully she won't get lost in the shuffle. She doesn't have to win. She can go on and face like a Bayley or a Sasha Banks and win those matches, or a member of the Riot Squad beat Dana Brooke, and just having great matches. It does not mean you have to have that. Like, you have to have... Just because, like, this is the thing. Just because you're not going for the championship doesn't mean you can't be pushed a little bit. Hopefully WWE will actually give her a chance. Speaking of championships, why did AOP walk out of WWE's Raw this past Monday with the championships again, the tag team championships? As we all know, AOP walked out of Raw in Manchester this week as Raw Tag Team Champions after they took the titles off of Seth Rollins in a handicap match. Although Rollins did his best to save his own heat, there was no way he could win against AOP. And logically, AOP is going to hold the titles to Survivor Series as they are booked to take on SmackDown Tag Team Champions The Bar at the big LA event. But it turns out WWE may have made the decision based on a future rivalry they want to see. Our sources have told us that AOP picked up the Raw Tag Team titles this week because management wants to place them in a feud with the Revival. Last year, or earlier this year, yes, that would have been a great feud, but what have you done to the Revival since? You had them lose to the Lucha House Party in pretty much dominant fashion. They pretty much got their asses kicked by the Lucha House Party. You have to do a lot for anyone to actually care about them. I don't know what you're gonna do, but you gotta make you have to do a lot to make people even care about the Revival. And having them lose to the AOP, I mean not to the AOP, but to the Lucha House Party, was not a good idea. Only time will tell if WWE Creative will decide on another direction, but the Revival have been toiling away for a bit on the main roster, and they have had plans pushed, but then injuries got in the way. Hopefully things will change for them, and WWE Raw Tag Team title program might really help them turn things around, even if they don't come out on top. Their best match was against Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler, but yet WWE won't push them until they come out with something like this. I mean, come on, really? Give us a break. I would love to see the Revival versus AOP. Will we get it? And will it be any good? Probably not. It probably will not be any good because that's just how WWE works. Oh, and before we go, this one we got to talk about. Stephanie McMahon thinks WWE will be bigger, if not bigger, than Disney. I know. Calm down. Don't laugh at. Don't laugh too loud because I know it's funny and I know it's bullshit that she thinks that, but yeah, this is real. Stephanie McMahon sat down with CNBC's Elizabeth Schultz during the Web Summit in Lisbon, Portugal, Tuesday. During the discussion, Schultz would bring up WWE's decision to run with the Crown Jewel event in Saudi Arabia, and Stephanie ensured that while it was a hard decision to do, she stressed that WWE are looking to connect their brand with international relationships. Bullshit. Vince McMahon never wanted, it wasn't a hard decision. Vince McMahon was hell bent on going to Saudi Arabia because of that fucking money. Tell them the truth, Stephanie, because you're lying to them immediately. Tell them the truth. Tell them the fucking truth because you're lying to them. It was an incredibly difficult decision for our company, McMahon said. We were trying to weigh all the different factors and ultimately made a business decision based on our contractual obligations, much like the way other American companies are handling their business, and we held that event. Towards the end of the conversation, Shula would ask Stephanie McMahon where she sees WWE in the next 10 years. 10, 20, 30 years from now, there's no reason we can't be as big or as bigger than Disney. Yeah, no. Nah. You're full of shit, Stephanie. I'll explain in a minute. Now, that's a tall order, especially given recent transactions. However, there's no reason we can't get there. You have to dream big, have big, bold goals, and go after them. I can't fault you for that. Yes, that is true. If you wanna succeed in life, you can't just be like, okay, this small, like, I want to run a business. I want to run a small business. And I just want to run that small business for the rest of my days. For some people, that might sound right. But a lot of people would love to franchise their business. A lot of people would love to build their business up to where you say Bill Gates, who went out and who built Microsoft, or Steve Jobs, who helped build Apple. Yeah, that's what you would do with that. You wouldn't just sit there and go, okay, we're just gonna sit here and we're gonna just do nothing. Our business is fine where it's at. When Vince McMahon bought the WWF from the Capital Wrestling Corporation from his dad and turned it into what it is today, you damn straight he wasn't just thinking, well, our wrestling company's fine where it's at. We're good. We don't need to go any higher. It's just fine where it's at. No. He saw a bigger and better bright future for his company. And I don't think he expected to go as big as it is, but he definitely didn't want to keep it at a small territory. He saw TV, he saw pay-per-view, he saw mainstream, he got TV, and he got Monday Night Raw, then eventually SmackDown, took his competition down. He has that goal then. Those goals have dissipated to what they are now. It is indeed a tall order, as the big lead via Pro Wrestling Sheets report that WWE's cap in the market is $5.8 billion, which is far cry from Disney's $172.7 billion. Though Fox's bid for WWE SmackDown brand in a way to gear towards a more sports-oriented product has made the company physically stronger. WWE, at the way they're going right now, they want to be bigger than Disney. Not the way they're going. Not the way they're going. With the way Monday Night Raw is now, with the way that they go, and the way that they just sit there and just don't give a fuck about their product, they don't give a fuck about how many people are watching, as long as they're making their money. But that's all fine and good. You can make your money, you can make your paper, boo, and whatever. You can do what you need to do. But the Shane McMahon best in the world thing, that hurt you guys a little bit. The Crown Jewel stuff, that dropped their stock. And there's rumors going around that Shane McMahon is going to win the WWE Championship and go on to face Brock Lesnar at a later date. No. Please, no. No. That will kill their company. 100%. This isn't 1999 where that would have been acceptable. This is 2018. Shit like that is not going to help this company. The only thing, and quite honestly, the only thing keeping this company relevant to a lot of people is NXT. Plain and simple. Until McMahon is out, next 10, 20, 30 years from now, WWE is going to probably not exist. Just for the simple fact is that they continue to think that they're better. They know what, like, Vince McMahon thinks he knows what he's doing. He thinks he's better than everybody else. He thinks that they can't do no wrong when all they do on Raw is wrong. You pushed Roman Reigns while everyone else sat there and just twiddled their thumbs. Nobody got a chance to get pushed like Roman Reigns did. It's just all bad. And Vince McMahon doesn't care. I mean, why should he? He's making his money. Got a $2 billion deals coming from NBC Universal and Fox. So why should he care? But will they ever be bigger than Disney? No. She just sounds like a delusional fuck, and that's all there is to it. That's all she does. Now, yes, if you want, you should have big goals, but that's just way too long. Don't say we want to go to Disney. Say, we want to be bigger than this company or that company that are not up to Disney. Disney owns half the world. I'm just telling you that right now. You want the truth? Disney owns half the media world. And with acquiring Fox, they just own a lot more than they did before. People don't like it. Too bad. It's the truth. But that is your Unscripted for Saturday, October. I keep saying October, we're in November. November 10th, 2018. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at TheFrance. Make sure to follow me on twitch.tv/TheFrance08. I will be back here again for Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, NXT/NXT UK. And then, of course, we have preview and predictions for TakeOver War Games, TakeOver Survivor Series, and then, of course, Unscripted next week, as well as Survivor Series. So until then, my name is TheFrance. I will see you guys Monday for the go-home shows for Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live and NXT. But until then, my name is TheFrance, and I'm getting out of here. See you guys later.